Dizziness, a sensation you can feel in many different ways. My favorite, spinning and spinning until I'm in a daze. If there were one ride known for twirling and soaring, hopping on a couch through the pages of a timeless story, it'd be the Cat in the Hat at Universal's Islands of Adventure. It was a spinning, whizzing, whirling venture. I say was because the spinning has been restrained. No more quick twists, they've all been tamed. What happened? When did it happen? I must have names. In today's chapter, we're exploring where the spinning has gone. Why is it now that this ride is a bore and a yawn? Let's find out what has changed on the Cat in the Hat. We'll cover the history, the reasons, the facts. Theodore Geisel first shared his imagination to the world in 1937 with his debut children's book, And to Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street. Under the pen name Dr. Seuss, the author would go on to publish 45 books. Dr. Seuss's stories transcend generations, finding homes on countless bookcases around the world. You could say Dr. Seuss is most well known for his signature storytelling, idiosyncratic illustrations, and very eccentric vocabulary. But if you had to narrow down his legacy to one thing, it would be his 1957 masterpiece, The Cat in the Hat. The book takes readers for a ride, following the story of two siblings home alone on a dreary day. They are unexpectedly interrupted by a meddling, mischievous cat, his two minions, and a host of Rube Goldberg-esque gadgets and inventions. With more than 10 million copies sold worldwide, The Cat in the Hat is among the most celebrated and prominent children's books ever written. Its premise and characters would be the inspirations behind adaptations on Broadway, in Hollywood, and one of the world's premier tourist destinations. Universal Studios Florida in the mid-90s had started drafting plans to expand into a multi-park destination. During the new park's development process, the creative team had intentions to incorporate themed lands based on popular franchises, including Dr. Seuss's books. Universal started drafting concepts for the proposed Seuss area. However, Theodore Geisel's widow, Audrey, was reluctant to allow Universal to include her late husband's work in the new theme park, as he was not a fan of theme parks. Universal worked for a year on the design for the land, putting forward great ideas and renderings that remained faithful to Dr. Seuss's whimsical trademark work. Audrey Geisel unfortunately would not entertain the idea, ignoring requests and calls to review Universal's plans. Even Steven Spielberg tried reaching out to her, no success. Agents tried, no response. Eventually, Universal presented the ideas to Geisel's main literary agent at Random House, who called Audrey Geisel saying, quote, "I think you ought to take a look at this," unquote.
A fantabulous place by the name of Seuss Landing!
Universal's Islands of Adventure would open in 1999, debuting with an assembly of world-class thrill rides dispersed throughout the park's islands. Seuss Landing, however, was fittingly made up of gentle kids' rides. This land opened with 4 Seuss-themed attractions: Carousel, If I Ran the Zoo, One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish, and The Cat in the Hat. All of them were tame and kid-friendly, except for the land's marquee ride. The Cat in the Hat faithfully retold Geisel's classic story and took families into the world of Dr. Seuss. Despite that kid-focused appeal, the ride was a bit physically intense for younger riders. Definitely not the mild ride experience guests might expect on a Dr. Seuss ride. As Orlando Sentinel columnist Mike Thomas put it in his 1999 review, quote, "It looks like fun, this Cat in the Hat, till you get spun around fast as a zizzer zat. My stomach was here and now it's there. Soon I fear its contents will be everywhere. I do not like it, Sam I am, especially after eating green eggs and ham," unquote. Then high school student Elizabeth Felton summed up her ride during park reviews by saying, quote, "This ride was a lot of fun. It also jerked me around a little too much," unquote. For a ride geared toward tykes and families, the Cat in the Hat's movements were a bit excessive. While it fit nicely with the rest of Islands of Adventure's thrill ride lineup, the attraction's rapid spinning moments did not sit right with its intended audience. Regardless, the Cat in the Hat would go unchanged. According to park goers at the time, guests could request to turn off the spinning on their particular ride vehicle. Team members would deactivate this from the controls. Some say that disabling the spinning feature was difficult to reset, affecting the next rider's experience. Additionally, this ride dispatches in pairs, meaning 2 individual ride vehicles leave the boarding station at one time. To alter the programming for one of the 2 tandem ride vehicles would cause issues for the ride's computer system. That said, if it were true that team members could disable a ride spinning per a guest's request, it was very likely that doing so would cause complications for the system. While the attraction's storytelling, sights, and sounds were a big draw, families with children still were not pleased with its extreme spinning. Around spring 2010, guests noticed an obvious update to the Cat in the Hat. It no longer spun riders around the way it had throughout its decade in operation. Rather, its movements were more like slow turns that would face the ride vehicle toward a scene, opposed to its former fast 360-degree pivots. This may have been an adjustment made because of negative guest feedback suggesting the ride wasn't kid-friendly enough. Regardless of why the change was made, fans were unsure whether this were permanent. The attraction up until this point did not have a height restriction, but in 2014, Universal introduced a minimum height requirement of 36 inches. Riders under 48 inches must be accompanied by a supervising companion. With small and young children on board, the spinning would sometimes pose safety issues, such as in the case of an unconfirmed incident that a child accompanied by a parent allegedly was ejected from the ride vehicle as it went through its standard spin sequence during a portion of the attraction. Regardless of whether this actually happened, it was clear that the ride originally did not operate at an age-appropriate speed for a Dr. Seuss attraction. An update to the ride was confirmed through a work permit from April 13th, 2010 for a third-party company to work on the Cat in the Hat. This lined up with the timeline of when fans noticed reduced spinning on the ride. Reprogramming the attraction and reducing its spinning motions more than likely was to improve safety initiatives, minimizing the potential for injuries. As of 2014, the ride spun drastically less, most notably during the crash scene after Thing 1 and Thing 2 pushed the piano. The Blacklight Room, and a few of the more chaotic scenes toward the story's climax. In addition to adjusting how the ride operates, Universal has slightly modified the harness with netting over the rider's laps. The new slow-paced version is safer and well-received by families and guests who get a bit queasy on rides, but thrill seekers are wishful the attraction will return to its original spinning incarnation. Some have suggested offering both wild and mild options, giving riders a choice whether they would want drastic spinning or a restricted experience. An example of an attraction that gives this option is the trackless dark ride Antarctica, Empire of the Penguin at SeaWorld Orlando, which allows riders to choose what kind of ride experience they want. Not all is lost for fans of the Cat in the Hat spinning upon opening. Men in Black Alien Attack at Universal Studios Florida uses the same ride system as the Cat in the Hat. The two rides open about a year apart from each other, and are only about a 10-minute walk apart. MIB is chock full of dizzying moments, giving guests a taste of how the Cat in the Hat used to be. The Cat in the Hat still operates under these changes, but it still does spin. Some. It's much more kid-friendly now than on opening day back in 1999. In a park brimming with adrenaline-pulsing rides, it's understandable and forgivable that Universal toned down an attraction for kids. The ride is still enjoyable and usually has low waits. Best of all, families and kids love it. From the pages of a book to the magic of a theme park, Dr. Seuss's Cat in the Hat is a story that's hallmark. Distinctive characters, a whimsical plot, though the ride used to spin a lot. This attraction is still worth the wait, despite losing its signature spinning trait. Now we know the how and why. This ride spinning went bye-bye.